Right, so I have just picked up another one of my favourite rifles from the 80s, and that's a Sterling HR81. And this one is another one that's in really good nick. I really like these guns because they're such solid rifles. They were probably the last of the breed, really, when air rifles were made with virtually no castings at all. There were no alloys. Everything was solid steel, solid blued machine steel. So there was no castings. The only castings on them were the foresight. Everything else was machined solid steel. And really, these were the end of that line, I suppose. Even your top end Vireouts now, if you look at them, they've got pressings on them, they've got castings. These were probably the last of those breed of rifles that were made just from solid machine steel, a bit like the Webley Mark III. In fact, these are a sort of updated version of the Webley Mark III, really, and the fact that that's how they were made. So this was the first one that I had, and there are a few slight differences to them. Now, this is serial number 1038, which is quite an early one. And on this one, we've got the trigger guard is just a nice piece of cleanly bent into place steel. And it matches the foresight, which again is smooth. This is a casting, but it's steel again. It's a steel casting, all metal, no plastic anywhere on these things. But it's smooth. There's no texture to it at all. It's all smooth. So that's the earlier one. And then this one is serial number 3007. And this one's slightly different because this one has a trigger guard that has got it's still metal, still steel, but it's got like a sort of textured, parkerized finish to it. I don't know whether you can see that too clearly on there. It's like a textured, parkerized finish. And that matches the same sort of textured, parkerized finish that's on the foresight. So obviously they did have some slight changes even before they went to the Mark II version. Fantastic rifles, these. They're so solid. They're solid guns, no plastic on them. Just lovely rifles. The earlier one has got a slightly darker stock than the latter one. But both really beautiful guns. Properly, solidly made rifles. Absolutely fantastic. They were only made for about 2.5 years, I think, before production ceased when Sterling went bust. And then I think in the States, Beeman made them for a short while as well. They made them in the States for a couple of years. And the Beeman ones are frequently slightly different because the Beeman ones have a different block where instead of a rear sight assembly, a lot of the Beeman ones were fitted with like a fluted top part here. All of this had gone, all the sight had gone, and this was fluted. And they had a peep sight on the back of them, on the Beeman ones, rather than the proper Sterling ones. And the finish wasn't as good either on the American ones. The polishing on the bluing and all the metal parts, the finishing on the metal parts wasn't up to the standards of the original Sterling Armaments Company ones. So there you go, a blast from the past. A pair of incredibly beautiful, extraordinarily well made Sterling HR81s. Really nice rifles. Properly made up with the latest acquisition. That is a really nice rifle. Fantastic, fantastic guns. Proper blast from the past. Both 2.2 caliber. I think the early ones, in fact, almost all of the HR81s were made in 2.2. They did bring out 177 later on, but the vast majority of them were in 2.2 caliber. But yeah, fantastic, really nice, so well made. You know, when you pick one of them and look at how well made they are, how solid they are, it does make you look at today's rifles with all their castings. You know, apart from the barrel, like scarcely any modern rifles are made of solid steel throughout. On the Springers, obviously you've got the barrel and the cylinder, but most of the rest of it are made from pressings or aluminium castings to save weight, and there's castings on the triggers and castings everywhere really, and bits of plastic here and there. But on these, nothing. It's just wood and steel, and that's it. Really, really beautiful things. Proper engineering. And they look the biz as well. They're not the prettiest of rifles. They are quite an ugly looking gun, really. But there's something about them. They've got like quite a brutish appeal to them. Fantastic.